Welcome to Buster Mechanics, a show where I'll be taking a certain aspect of a video game and expanding on what makes it so special and unique. These will be short videos like my Buster Shot videos. However, they'll be more analytic in nature, much like my main videos. I wanted to offer more content that let me dissect video games without having to make a 20-minute episode about it. As such, let's talk about the worst job ever some more. Now, when you think of horror games, what comes to mind? Games like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Amnesia, and Outlast, right? Well, what do these games have in common? Two things: exploration and the unknown. These two things are very integral to horror games, because they're basically the lifelines for the gameplay and presentation. After all, if the unknown is properly conveyed, then the imagination begins to fill in the blanks of what the player doesn't know. This ramps up the tension, makes the player anxious and scared. In other words, this creates atmosphere. Have you ever wondered why children are so afraid of the dark? Why they think there's a monster underneath the bed or a monster in the closet or some such? Well, that's the imagination filling in the blanks for what they don't know, coming up with the worst scenarios possible due to fear of the unknown. And that's why exploration is a key element in horror games. Because if the fear comes from the unknown, then the player is already predisposed to eliminating the unknown. After all, if you know everything about a situation, then there's nothing to fear, right? So then, what do you do to learn everything? You explore, you discover things, you find information. This is basically the formula for most horror games. It's not strictly adhered to as the infallible rules of horror games or anything like that, but if you go look at a bunch of horror games, the majority of them will probably follow this formula in some way. However, Five Nights at Freddy's does things a bit differently. And whether it was by design or by accident, we're gonna talk about why this game is so scary. Now, for the most part, this game has a very simple premise. You're a security guard, you work the night shift at a Chuck E. Cheese knockoff, the animatronics want to kill you, and you need to conserve power. However, this game already does something strange when compared to most other horror games, because you get periodic phone calls that basically tell you all you need to know to survive. These phone calls explain where you are, what you're doing, and what your objective is. They even explain what you need to do to achieve your objective and what happens if you fail. On the surface, it looks like it just completely eliminated the unknown because you basically know everything. But then you keep playing. Now, immediately you realize that there's no exploration. All you do is sit in your office and watch the cameras and doors while managing your power. At first, it seems like a lazy approach to gameplay, but then you start thinking about your situation, and suddenly you realize something very important. You can't move. You can't alleviate your fear of the unknown. No matter what, you're limited to what you can learn from the cameras. And even then, all the cameras are doing are showing you mostly still images. It doesn't show any patterns for the animatronics, it only shows them jumping around from room to room at completely random intervals. It's feeding your fear of the unknown, because you don't know where they'll be next. Still, you keep playing. Somehow the game has fed you all the information you need, yet still not enough. You know everything about this on paper, but in practice you're learning things that only raise more questions. It's a true example of the phrase, you don't know it until you experience it for yourself. All the while, you continue to be painfully aware that you can't move or do anything to alter the game in any way. You're always on the defensive with absolutely no hope of ever being on the offensive. You're playing a horror game that not only subverts the main elements of horror, but truly makes you feel like you're just waiting to die. And still you keep playing, and playing, and playing. But what happens when the power goes out? So, thanks for watching. If you liked this short analysis, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to let me know. If you want to see more, check out my impressions video on Five Nights at Freddy's, or go watch my analysis on Project Sylphie. Lastly, you can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr if you want to stay up to date. Anyway, I'll see you guys later.